I had to make this video right after watching it. Much like Switch Killer, this film is a film that demands an immediate review. And so, here you go. The menu. The menu stars Ralph Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Nicholas Hoult, as well as John Leguizamo and other people whose names I can't remember off the top of my head. But everybody is excellent in this film. The acting is exquisite. Every single person. This is a small cast, but every single person performs their role to a T. The soundtrack is good. The camera is good. The lighting is good. Everything is good. This is an example of a very well-made movie that you can't really fault for how it's made, technically. From the technical side, from the sound, from the balancing, from the audio, from all of that, from the camera, from the characters, from the acting, to the costumes, to the set pieces. It's very well made. It's very competently made. This is not something that you could take points away from in that area. So, we move into the story segment. In the story segment, I feel I can't give and take any points away either. Now, I have been told that this film is very much a comedy played straight, much like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies was. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies was a comedy played straight, in that it doesn't really tell you that it's a comedy movie. It's not played for giggles and laughs, and you know it's a comedy if you put in, say, Spaceballs. When you put in Spaceballs, you know that movie is a comedy. You knew it was a comedy going in. The marketing is all over it. On this, there is no marketing here. Painstakingly prepared, brilliantly executed, but there's no here the dark comedy written by Seth Rice and Will Tracy. So it does tell it to you on the back here. You'll have to dig a little bit. But the marketing on the front cover, the thing that draws you to the case, it's nothing on here. You have to flip it over to find it. You have to flip it over to see in this dark comedy. Now, I don't want to waste time explaining what a dark comedy is. You probably know the answer to that regardless. I'm not going to spoil the plot for you either, at least not in great, terrible detail. Though I will say that it has a strong satire on the service industry, particularly the service industry of the high class, of the rich peoples, of the people of the highest echelons, where you would spend thousands of dollars for a tiny, tiny little plate like that. This plate would cost more than a gaming PC in some restaurants. This could be like a $300 meal. This could be a $500 meal. It could contain tiny little sprinklets of something that is so rare, so incredibly hard to find, that people order that simply because it's impossible to get. They would get gold-encrusted ice cream and eat gold. They would get expensive meals just because they could afford the lavishly decorative artistry put on display in the food industry in this high echelon society. It shows that to you, that these cooks are artists, that they are also treated as McDonald's employees in some cases, though this man does receive high levels of respect from his peers, from his customers. All these people keep giving him praise. They keep saying, oh, this man is an artist and the best in the business, the best in what he does. And yet at the same time, you could see in his eyes on this cover, not necessarily on this cover in this quality, but if you look at an actual image on the Google internet, you type it in, you'll find pictures and all that stuff, right? You'll see Ralph Fiennes' face. You could see his eyes are dead. His smile is fake. Everything about him is just soulless. There is no life to him. all of the stories in the first act, because in the first act you are not made aware of what's actually happening. You're not made aware of what's actually going on till once the second act hits. Once that second act hits, and you'll know when that second act hits, and everything just starts to tell you, wow, so this is what's actually happening, right? Once that second act hits, you're taken into a completely different direction, right? But he does give you some clues in that first act. In that first act, everything is very well written. There's little cues throughout. You listen to everybody talking at the other tables. You watch the actors' faces. You watch the patrons' faces. You watch his face. You watch his eyes. You listen to his tone. You listen to how he speaks. He uses a lot of eloquential words and dialogue and stories that he tells, but you could tell that there's something off about him. You could tell that there's something a little bit lifeless in his words, a little bit soulless in his words, and there is something soulless in his cooks. His cooks are basically machines. They are trained methodically to craft some of the most exquisite foods that you will ever see, and you'll probably never eat in your life, and never probably even want to either, though you can appreciate the art in it, because that's what they're making. They're more necessarily making art that you could eat rather than food that you would eat to sustain yourself. That's why people would go to these places to eat art, essentially. They're not going here to eat a burger, though that's the joke. There is some strong satire in this that I really don't want to spoil. This is something that you got to go in to see. This is a very smart crack into the food industry, the service industry in and of itself, and the dreams and aspirations of cooks, of chefs. One movie that I could think of that it reminds me just a little bit of the menu is Pig. Pig with Nicolas Cage. He plays a very big chef in his own right, and that's another movie I would definitely recommend. Pig is one of Nicolas Cage's best movies. You know, there is this moment that Nick Cage got his little resurgence into the film area, and I think it started with Mandy. Don't quote me on that, but I think it started with Mandy. Once Mandy came out, Nicolas Cage took off again. He was then in more movies like Prisoner of the Ghostlands and Colorado Space, and then he was in Pig, and then he was in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, amongst other films. Jiu-Jitsu. He was in so much stuff after Mandy that he was once again back into the major big talking points. Everybody was talking about him again, right? I'm going off on a little tangent there, but one of those movies they did after Mandy was Pig, and Pig is a film about the food industry as well, though he's also searching for his pig, but it also talks about a satire into the food industry at a certain point in the story, in the second act, and you'll know it when you see it if you've watched Pig, or if you're planning to watch Pig. That's another movie I would definitely recommend you watch, and I might even show it in more detail future on the channel. Remember, but back to the menu. Like Pig, it is a very smart discussion into the food industry and what it means to be a chef, and what you actually want to do. You know, sometimes, not just a chef, really, but an artist in anything, from writing books to crafting movies to writing film movies, scripts, screenplays, sculpting statues, paintings, anything. If you are a creator of something, you'll know what this man is feeling at some point in your life. You could at least understand it from a certain level. You could understand where he's coming from, at least from a certain point of view, right? And you could understand that there is a certain point in your life where you wanted to get into what you got into because you came from a sort of like a youthful passion. You got some level of enjoyment, some personal fulfillment in your creations. And then somewhere down the line, they streamlined it, or you streamlined your creativity. You became so good, but the joy of what you did left. Suddenly, you were just doing it, and you weren't really living. You weren't really, what's the word? It's like the lights are on, but nobody's home, if that makes sense. You're a machine. You are methodical. You are a perfectionist. You craft some of the greatest stuff and you get endless amounts of praise, but it has no meaning. There's no inherent meaning to it. That's one of the messages that I got, and I could really respect that. I could really understand that point of view, right? And regrettably, I didn't find this to be very funny, because I was taking a lot of these points of views rather seriously. And, though I was cynically chuckling from time to time, there's a lot of things that happen in this movie that you could see from at least minutes away. You could tell that it's going to come, so that when it does hit, you're not really surprised that it happens, but you could chuckle cynically at it. There's a lot of smart dialogue here that you could chuckle cynically at, but it's not the type of comedy that you're gonna that I didn't uproariously laugh. You might uproariously laugh to this movie, and if you do, good on you. I definitely hope you enjoy it that way, because this is a movie I'm going to definitely recommend that you go out and see. Get it, find it, collect it, find it on DVD, find it on Blu-ray, find it on 4K, find it. Get it in a dollar bin, get it in a bargain bin, find it on the brand new shelf at Walmart. It doesn't matter, whichever method that you plan to find this movie, even on streaming, whichever method you plan to do to find this movie and watch it, it might even be on Hulu, watch it, consume it, and enjoy it. And as Ralph Fiennes says, do not just eat it, taste it.